Welcome back, and joining us to discuss today's market-moving news in detail is Antonio Senatore from Cartesian Capital. Thank you so much for your time, Antonio. Now, the start of trading for the second quarter, and really investors basically did nothing on the JSE today. It was trading flat for most of the day, and then it sunk slightly into the red. But we did see the rand gaining a little bit of ground against the US dollar, even as inflation obviously remains sticky from what we saw in the PCE data point, but also the fact that oil is trading at a 5-month high today. What's going on in your head about those data points and how markets are reacting to them?
Yeah, so on Friday last week, US core PCE eased to 2.8% year-on-year in Feb, down from 2.9%. That was in line with forecasts. And the Fed considers that core figure to be a better gauge of longer-term inflation trends. And while the number has been trending lower, it is proving to be sticky, as you said. Market expectations seem to have almost completely written off a rate cut by the Fed in May, and the probability of a June cut has also pulled back to 57% from 64% a week ago. You know, this was also after Powell said on Friday that they are in no hurry to reduce interest rates, and US manufacturing PMI also moved into expansionary territory for the first time since 2022. And I think now attention is turning to the March job data in the US that's coming out later this week. And then also improving sentiment in China, I think, is giving our resource stocks a bit of a boost today. Their manufacturing PMI rose more than expected to 51.1 from 50.9 previously, which has boosted optimism about their ability to meet that 5% GDP growth target this year.
Yeah, indeed. And we have seen that filtering through to the PGM stocks and also oil at a 5-month high, but also even gold trading at quite a high. What are you making of that upward movement in gold at this point? I mean, momentum here hasn't really stopped.
I think gold, the strength in the gold price has supported the rand to some extent.
Okay.
That gold price has probably been driven by Israeli airstrikes on Iran's embassy in Syria, which would have increased its appeal as a safe haven asset. And then also anticipation for US rate cuts, as well as purchasing activity by central banks, so they've been hoarding gold, would have contributed to driving gold up over 9% year to date. So 10 of the 11 most influential central banks, excluding Japan, obviously, they've signaled potential rate cuts this year. So there's anticipation of further upward momentum in gold's rally once those cuts do begin.
Yeah, and we actually did see that upward movement in gold also filtering through to Gold Fields, which was one of the gold miners on the JSE. They did release a production update. They're quite a mixed one, saying that their production for the first quarter of 2024 decreased, although they are keeping full year guidance unchanged. But also they're saying that the Salares Norte mine in Chile has actually produced first gold. What do you make of the production update that they gave us today?
Yeah, so full year guidance unchanged. I'm not too worried about the lower guidance for quarter one.
Okay.
But this new gold that they're starting to sell from Salares Norte mine, something that's been taken from discovery, exploration, development, all the way through to production. And it's taken them 13 years to achieve it. And they're now starting to produce gold, which will be earnings enhancing, to Gold Fields going forward. The mine is considered world-class because of its efficient cost structure and rapid payback period of less than 3 years. So it looks like a very successful project. And that production now, with the strong gold price that we mentioned, will be very favorable for the company, provided that gold price holds its levels.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's go into some deal making there between Amira and Spear REIT. Amira is selling 13 properties to Spear. Of course, that is Western Cape focused for purchase consideration of over 1 billion rand. What did you make of this transaction? What Amira is giving up and what Spear is gaining at this point?
So Spear REIT, they're a Western Cape property company, so it makes complete sense for Spear because it gives them the opportunity to buy 13 properties in one go. And it will also probably be beneficial to Amira, as they'll use the proceeds to lower their debt levels and to recycle some of the investment into properties which they think are more attractive. So from a cash flow perspective, it also gives us comfort as debt investors. into that counter.
Quite interesting also to see. I looked at those share price movements. Amira surging by almost 4%, but the Spear stock not really doing anything. But I guess maybe you can say that it's because Spear is still a small cap, so not as liquid as Amira is at this point. But I will be speaking to the Spear CEO just after 6 p.m. Talking about property, CGRO M3, we did see that share price surging over 5%. So of course this is as they give us an update on a joint venture transaction that they have taken for Buckenfeld District City Development. Talk to us about the benefits of this and what it could mean for CGRO's bottom line going forward.
So this project or development will see up to 30,000 residential units being built alongside commercial, retail and industrial spaces. So it can really change the dynamics for CGRO, as it's a significant project in the scheme of CGRO, which is a relatively small company. So CGRO will be responsible for the residential components. Eris will be responsible for the other components, industrial and retail, etc. But for CGRO, it means a long pipeline of business because it's not a short-term project. It takes time to develop something this big. So it will provide workflow to CGRO for many years to come, which will be positive, provided they can manage it in a profitable way. And the project has the potential to generate, they said, more than 18 billion rand in revenue, which would more than double their existing project pipeline. So it's really big for CGRO.
Yeah, no wonder investors were plowing into that stock today. What are you plowing into today, your stock pick, Antonio?
So I've chosen OUTsurance today. In their recent interim results, OUTsurance's headline earnings per share were down 0.8%, so essentially flat. But gross written premiums were up 22%, which shows strength in their business trend. But earnings were flat because of costs associated with their new business activities, such as opening operations in Ireland. Also, if you look at their claims ratio, that increased from 54% to 59% because of natural events like adverse weather. But it is cyclical in nature, and the company should return to more normal claims ratios in the future, thus driving improved profitability. But their Irish operation holds, I think, much potential. It can be an important lever for future earnings growth as it gains market share in that country. But they are in the very early stages of operating in that country, and it may take a few years before it becomes profitable in its own right. And then another thing, last thing, the company doesn't only operate in short-term insurance. They also operate in life insurance, which has been gaining positive traction, which is another lever for growth. So as you can see, you always get something out.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time and just for giving us that trinket. That was Antonio Senatore from Cartesian Capital.